I'm here with Bill Baker from the Hickory Aviation Museum, here to introduce us to the P-3 Orion.
Welcome to the Hickory Aviation Museum, and right behind me is the P-3 Orion, which was built by Lockheed Corporation. First introduced in 1962, and it is still flying today, some 58 years later. There was about 650 manufactured by Lockheed for the U.S. and various allied countries, and another 107 that were built by Japan under license by Lockheed. Its main mission is anti-submarine warfare. Another important one is search and rescue. This aircraft can stay in flight for up to 11, 12 hours. What we do is we shut down one engine, we fly on 3 engines to save fuel, and we can just keep flying and flying and flying. It has no air-to-air in-flight refueling. So once we take off, we've got to find a piece of land to come back to, because we are a land-based aircraft, unlike most of the other Navy jets that you'll see, which are carrier-based.
Can we take a look inside?
Absolutely. All right, welcome aboard our P-3 Orion. P-3's through with a fairly large crew of 11 people. We had 5 officers and 6 enlisted, and I'll cover each position as we walk forward. In the back of the aircraft here is our crew galley area. Comes with 2 bunks for sleeping for our pilot and our flight engineer. We keep rotating them through since they're driving the airplane. We need to keep fresh people flying to keep us safe. And we have plenty of places for people to sit and eat. Back here, refrigerator, oven, coffee pot, hot pots, drink storage. We would fly for up to 11, 12 hours, so there was often multiple meals. As we move forward through the aircraft, I'll just cover each position. Aft window observer is responsible for in-flight looking out the window, which is a pretty good job to get paid for. And he was also our in-flight technician. He carried a toolbox and some spare parts and pieces, so if we had any kind of electronics breakdown, he'd be the guy to take a look at it. He'd also help the crew do their pre-flights of the aircraft. All right, our next position is the ordnanceman. He also functions as a aft window observer, and his responsibility is to load what are called sonobuoys, which we'll talk about here in a second, and if we have any kind of weapons on board. Right, I just mentioned the word sonobuoy. Sonobuoys come inside of these cases, and what a sonobuoy does is it's mainly how we do our anti-submarine warfare mission. These are different types. The main type that we use are called passive sonobuoys. So what we're doing is we're going out to look for a submarine. We can't see him because he's underneath the water. So we need to find the sound. So what sonobuoys do is they get dropped out of the aircraft through these chutes here, and there's also 48 more outside the aircraft that we load up before we take flight. And when we launch it into the water, the inside of these cases come out and they hit the water. And what it is a little floating collar around a receiver and transmitter, and it deploys a cable down to a preset depth with a transducer, which is a listening device. So that hits the water and it's just listening. So say a submarine were to be passing through the area this way, it'll pick up the sound and it'll send a line of bearing this way. So we drop a pattern, 16 sonobuoys, 4x4x4. So now I have multi sonobuoys located. So if I get a line of bearing says there's something over here making noise, and this sonobuoy over here says I got something making noise here, so where they cross, there's something under the water making noise, i.e. our submarine, and that's how we start tracking them. If we're allowed to go active sonar, which if you ever watch old submarine movies and you hear the pinging, that's just a pulse of energy. So this sends out a 360-degree pulse of energy, and if it picks up something large like a submarine, it'll give a range circle, and a bearing to where that source is. So wherever the range and the bearing cross, there's something there. And that's how we track submarines. These 2 guys right here are the ones that operate the sonobuoys. Lead operator, and usually the junior operator is somebody who's learning, either new to the squadron and is learning his job, or he's learning from this operator to eventually take his position when he's ready to leave. So this whole unit here, this whole system is all this, the computer system is what they use to process the information coming out of our sonobuoys. This station is our radar operator, and he does 5 very important jobs. One is the radar, and he's looking for anything on the surface of the water. If we're flying, radar's going, and we pick up a blip, something on the surface, we can go down and have a look at it. If we don't have a radar that's detecting things from 100 plus miles out, all we're doing is flying around looking out the window hoping that we find something, but the radar helps find stuff. He also has a camera that drops out of the nose of the aircraft underneath, and it's a 360-degree infrared camera, and we use that for videotaping. If we fly down and there's a surface ship that's going along and we think that he might be up to something, we'll fly alongside of him at 200 feet, turn the camera on, videotape him. Because we're going 200 miles an hour, it's kind of hard to see what we're looking at, but he can look at it and replay it on his video system, and then when we get back and debrief, they can pull apart the video and see if maybe there's something going on with the ship. He's also responsible for listening to electronic emissions from other ships, land-based, surface-based, subsurface-based. They stick an antenna up and broadcast. We can detect that radio signal. That'll give us an area to go look for something. So he's got a pretty important job, and he's pretty busy. And our next seat is, this is where I first started in the aircraft. This is the navigator communicator. And his job is to navigate and communicate. It's pretty simple. We like to keep things simple in the Navy. His responsibility is for talking to everybody that we need to be talking to, but also making sure that we know where we're going, we know where we've been, and we know that if we have a problem, since we're over water most of the time, we need to know where the nearest airfield is that might have fuel for us if we're running low, or if we have a equipment malfunction or something serious like fire or something's happened to the aircraft. He needs to be able to plot a course and tell us which way to fly. This seat here, once he's qualified as a navigator, he starts learning how to be the tactical coordinator. And what the tactical coordinator does is, if you think of this as a 11-man football team, he's the quarterback. He or she is the one that comes up with the tactics for the mission and then plans it as we're executing the mission. He or she is telling everybody in the back of the plane what to do. They're giving he or she their input from whatever their job responsibilities are, and it's up to him to sort through it all, figure out the plan, and to execute and make it work, while talking to the pilots driving the airplane to tell them where to go. And it's a very busy job. All right, now we're up here in the cockpit. This is where the aircraft is driven from. We carry 3 pilots. 2 are on duty at all times. All those gauges down the vertical to the horizontal. Engine 1, Engine 2, Engine 3, Engine 4. So I've spent about 3,000 hours flying these aircraft as a tactical coordinator, which is not the pilot, but the guy that tells the pilot where to fly the aircraft. And I did numerous tours in P-3s, as well as a tour aboard an aircraft carrier, the USS Enterprise, working on the flight deck. And I am retired from the U.S. Navy, and it was a great career and a fun career.